Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Scott Miller. I'm from a small town in Pennsylvania called Nazareth, a great little town that my grandfather, on my mother's side, was the treasurer for a while. He was also the general manager of one of the largest companies to ever come through Nazareth, the Trumbauer Company. He sold the locals back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, the supplies they needed to build their houses, the coal they needed to heat those houses, the cement and concrete products to form their patios and sidewalks, and also the crushed limestone to build their roads. My gram was a great person. I loved her so much and miss her. God knows. My dad ran the local asphalt plant in Nazareth for many years. I also worked there for quite a while. I have a few family there and many friends and classmates whom I consider more than friends. I love Nazareth, and I could go on and on about my feelings for that little town, and I was content to be there for the rest of my life. And if it wasn't for these people that I love and would miss, I probably would never again visit my once beloved town. You see, my wife at the time was Sandy Miller. Sandy was brutally murdered back in 1978, leaving my 10-month-old daughter, Kelly Marie, motherless. Sandy and I were just kids at the time, 22 and 23 years old. As ugly and bloody as this crime was, it was never solved. Needless to say, it has weighed heavily on my mind for some 40 years. Initially, after the crime, the authorities at first tried to shoo me away from them for some reason, like I was some kind of rube or a pain in their ass. When I did get to talk to them, when I demanded to talk to them, they said they couldn't listen to me until I was cleared. Until I was cleared, they said. I think that would, in theory, that might take a trial, wouldn't it? I was, for the lack of a better word, frightened, to the point where I thought I had no option but to try my damnedest to go on and forget that this happened. Try to put it out of my mind. Even if it meant carrying this 50-pound sign made of stone around my neck that said, "Do you think I'm a murderer?" Everywhere I went, everybody I looked at, I just wondered if they thought that. Even though I took 2 different lie detector tests, one from the state police, took all afternoon. I passed that with flying colors. They didn't publicly make an announcement about it, which they should have, I thought. But whatever. I missed out on so many things because at most times I just feared being in public. I'm not a practicing religious man or anything, but man, there were times that I prayed for the strength and some relief from the constant mental rehashing constantly. I tried to gain control of the daily gruesome thoughts of Sandy's murder. I prayed for the release of the anger I still feel that a group of people got away with such an amateur and messy murder. Sometimes 3, 4, and maybe 10 times a day, I would go up and down the Sandy was murdered ladder. But in hindsight, this constant rehashing would be good for this story anyhow, because I have thought about it so much and investigated my memory and dissected my thoughts, my who killed Sandy thoughts, that I think I have an answer for just about any question concerning Sandy's death. Initially, I had some things to discuss with the authorities, some thoughts and maybe helpful information, but the authorities would have nothing to do with listening to me. Why? That's screwed up. You might ask, as I still do, how could someone get away with such a crime? And why wasn't more done? I think this is why. I feel it was covered up. And just by coincidence, just by accident, the people who I feel are pertinent to the case, as well as other groups of guilty parties, and there are many, covered up for each other. Everyone worked together to hide things and cover up. And they didn't even know they were being helped by another branch of the murder tree, if you will. It was so crude and haphazard that it's just unbelievable that they all got away with it. Not only the murder, but the cover-up and the conspiracy. Incredible. They all got away with it because I was a 23-year-old, untested, naive kid with absolutely no one helping him. And many took advantage of the situation. Everybody did. Well, guess what? I grew older. I learned how to add and read, and things started making much more sense. Nobody defended Sandy. Nobody stuck up for her. Not even her own family. 40-some years of lies and incompetence. Then a few years ago, some frightening, sad, and incriminating information surfaced. This new information directed me to re-question things. I put together the events that I myself experienced before the murder, just after the murder, and over the years. I put together that and this new information, and son of a gun, it all fell into place. One of the facets of incompetence was during the initial investigation, someone screwed up. Screwed up so badly that the authorities have been trying to hide it from me and the public. Something not only illegal, but immoral. And I'm sure there's a few other words to describe it. The authorities have stonewalled me and still barely listen to me. Not helping me in any way whatsoever to help resolve this travesty. I plan to, with facts, show the public and those guilty parties that I know all about them and their criminal and murderous acts. Every guilty party, accidentally and collaterally, covered up for the other guilty parties, whether they were knife wielders or conspirators. And I, as a 23-year-old kid, had no idea how to fight this. The help I received was either corrupt or very inadequate. My father and stepmother were 5 minutes down the road. Never came to my side. My own father. Much more on all these things in later podcasts. Much more. You'll learn of peculiar events and names of people who did incriminating, immoral, and very unjust things to keep this swept under the carpet. The characters involved and how it all played out is just about unfriggin' believable. You couldn't make this story up if you tried. When the murder happened, I was scared to death because Sandy and I were separated at the time, and I knew it was me they would look at initially. But I was barely questioned. You would think they would want to really pick my brain, but nothing. Why? So much more on this later in the story, and why we were separated. I'll have interesting interviews. I'll also be showing other informative visuals and graphics. This subject has been on my mind so much that it is burned into my brain. Every minute aspect of it. I invite any questions you may have, good or bad. If I can answer your question, I will. To get a jump on all of this, if you haven't already, go to Facebook, Miller Nazareth Cold Case, or Sandy Miller, Her Brutal Murder and Collateral Cover-Up. We haven't added much to these pages lately because we were fighting the courts for the longest time for an autopsy report. A report which is a right-to-know document. Now, a right-to-know document is something that anybody or any person should have access to. They won't let us have access to it. They're hiding something. They say it's because it's an ongoing investigation. Well, when I tell you how long they have been investigating this, believe me, some of this information is going to blow your mind. Like I said, after many tries, we were denied by the courts from getting the autopsy. Many people have used this Sandy's murder against me, used it as a weapon to terrorize not only me, but also my family. I have to expose these evil people and their acts. I will tell you about all the dimwits that were at the crime scene and the out of ordinary and just stupid things they did while supposedly investigating Sandy's murder. The crime scene was a circus. I'll tell you all about that. I want all parties to know that I know what they did or didn't do. I can't leave this earth without telling my story and state the facts that I know. Facts like the facts I tried to tell the high authority and they told me to be silent. You know, I regret that I wasn't there for Sandy. She did bad things, but she surely didn't deserve to be beaten, strangled, and stabbed to death by some scumbags. So follow along as I reveal people, places, and events that I feel point to very suspicious activity. There will be some people irate, calling me a liar, trying to protect their own. Those would be the naive people. The people who don't know the truth, the people who have been lied to for many years. But guess what? The truth is the truth. And I don't care. I'm really tired of Sandy's unsolved murder taking over my mind whenever it wants to, anytime, anywhere. Just the fact that I'm going to let the guilty parties know that I know all about their lies and deceit will relieve the 40-some years of angst in my gut. I can't leave this world without all of the above, be them guilty or naive. Hear my side. It's just a damn shame that some of the parties are dead. But their families need to know, if they don't already. Some of them who have attacked me in the past because they don't know the truth. I've been waiting for this a long time. So yeah, this vodcast is for me, my family, and the guilty parties. And there are many. And anyone else who would like to hear my story. Again, comment as much as you please, and hopefully I can return everyone's thoughts. If anyone might have information that might help me, anything at all, please contact me at usmiller@gmail.com or comment. Thanks for listening. This will be an ongoing vodcast with lots of information coming out. Boy, are people going to be pissed, but you know what? Again, I don't care. I thank you so much for listening. Follow along. Good night.